The shortcomings of modern medicine. The mind-body connection has long been overlooked. Have you ever experienced this? When a part of your body hurts, you go to the hospital, seeking a specific department that can treat and alleviate the pain in that particular area. You are then assigned to a doctor who asks where it hurts, what physical symptoms you're experiencing, and everything is assessed solely based on your physical structure. Years ago, when my mother suffered from a chronic digestive illness, I took her to many hospitals, even consulting top specialists in the field. All the doctors simply prescribed medication to be taken day after day, week after week. Yet, her condition showed little improvement. At that time, I felt a deep sense of helplessness. It wasn't until I read this book that I realized something crucial. When the body falls ill, to truly heal, you cannot solely rely on doctors, because modern medicine itself still has its flaws. The path to safe recovery largely depends on you whether you can maintain a unified mind-body connection. So, what is modern medicine lacking? Modern medicine emphasizes the principle of dualism. What is dualism? It means that we humans tend to perceive and define the world and ourselves based on Newtonian physics from centuries ago, which separates parts and acknowledges the independent existence of two distinct entities. When people think about things around them, about others, or about themselves, we naturally tend to divide them into two categories, such as male-female, good-bad, individual-collective, and so on. Modern medicine operates similarly. It constantly separates the body and the soul. Most treatment processes are based on specific structures, on physical and chemical changes within the body, to find the relationship between the body and illness. Furthermore, the more specialized a doctor is in a particular field, the deeper their understanding of a specific organ in your body and its corresponding diseases. The advantage of this is that based on the complex division of body functions, doctors can immediately provide appropriate treatment. It can help alleviate pain quickly, but it often fails to treat the root cause of many diseases because it faces a significant problem. It has lost the holistic perspective. Doctors rarely view the human being as a complete, integrated whole deserving of observation and analysis, focusing only on the patient's diseased area. If a doctor doesn't consider the patient's soul, their life development, work, relationships, or other aspects, it's actually very difficult to make a comprehensive assessment and truly heal. The body's healing journey originated with a patient named Mary. Mary was 40 years old, a petite woman with a gentle nature and a mother of 3. Mary was friendly to everyone. Her friends always felt a warmth when they thought of her. One day, she suffered a small, seemingly insignificant injury, but it nearly cost her her entire life. Her finger was pricked by a needle. However, that tiny wound wouldn't heal for several months. This condition is known in medicine as Raynaud's phenomenon. When affected by low temperatures or psychological stress from the environment, the small arteries supplying blood to the fingers constrict, causing narrowing and loss of blood flow to the extremities, leading to the formation of necrotic tissue. To treat the blackened tissue, Mary was hospitalized multiple times over a year, undergoing several surgeries. Later, due to unbearable shooting pain, she was forced to request the amputation of that finger. But the amputation didn't prevent her condition from worsening. Eventually, even the strongest doses of pain medication couldn't alleviate her pain. Worse still, Mary was later diagnosed with scleroderma, an autoimmune disease where the immune system attacks the body's own internal organs, damaging joints and internal organs. So, what was the cause of this internal battle within her body? Initially, Dr. Mate couldn't find a specific cause, so he could only prescribe anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving medications, perform surgeries to remove the necrotic tissue, improve blood circulation, and then use some physical therapies, trying to prevent Mary from losing her mobility. But all of this still couldn't stop the situation from escalating. Until one day, a powerful realization suddenly dawned on the author. He thought that Mary was suffering and perhaps she needed to be heard. He approached Mary, faced her, and sincerely asked, "Can you tell me your story?" Astonishment bloomed on the middle-aged woman's face. It seemed no one had ever asked her that before. But she slowly began to recount her experiences. She had been abandoned by her biological parents as a child. After going through several foster families, she was abused and mistreated. In her mind, she always held an image from her childhood. She was 7 years old, the eldest, in a dilapidated apartment. She was holding her younger sister tightly in her arms. Below them, their alcoholic foster father, raging and violent, frequently beat the two sisters. When asked if she was scared by such horrific experiences, had she ever told anyone, she sadly said, "I was the eldest child. If I was scared, who would protect everyone? I could only swallow all my emotions, never telling anyone." For so many years, Mary had pretended to forget that experience. She never shared these feelings with anyone, not even her husband of 20 years or even with herself. She believed she had to be responsible, first for her sister, and now for her husband and children. This is why, even as her illness worsened, she couldn't truly focus on herself. So, Mary's terrible illness actually stemmed from an invisible pressure, long trapped within her heart. When the mind and body cannot be unified, we cannot confront our own pressures and don't know how to refuse things that continue to cause us stress and suffering. The author realized that Mary's body was doing what her soul couldn't. That is, when long-term emotional pressure cannot be released, it reaches a certain point where the body speaks up, manifesting as illness and simultaneously causing the continuous progression of other diseases. In reality, many of us are like Mary, concealing pressure for the sake of others, to avoid worrying those around us, swallowing our suffering. But deep down, this is actually due to your own deep-seated fears and expectations, and you conceal your suffering to protect yourself. And this is precisely how we transform pressure into illness. The author continued to delve deeper, explaining the science from a physiological perspective. First and foremost, pressure is a complex chain of physical and chemical reactions. When we live in an environment lacking love, harmony, or where we feel pressured or threatened, the threat to human existence is similar to ancient times. Thus, the fight-or-flight response is activated. When living in a high-pressure environment for a long time, like animals trapped in a cage unable to escape, people become numb to their emotional state, unaware of what their body is experiencing. At this point, pressure begins to affect their physiological health, and their soul no longer feels it. Most of the time, pressure remains hidden and prolonged throughout our slow maturation process. It gradually accumulates, and the body develops unconscious psychological coping mechanisms. This leads to us becoming more susceptible to illness. When the author presented this observation, there were rheumatology specialists in the medical academic community who criticized him, claiming he was an inexperienced family doctor. But the author was not deterred by this and continued his in-depth research. In fact, Dr. Mate was not the first to discover that the mind-body connection is crucial for a person's health. As early as 1892, a doctor raised the issue that diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and dermatomyositis are stress disorders closely related to a person's inner state. Yet, modern medicine continued to ignore this. Over time, doctors today gradually lose the ability to listen to patients or build good relationships with them. Almost the entire treatment process relies on measurements using advanced diagnostic equipment and scientific treatment strategies. Fortunately, many colleagues supported Dr. Mate's research, and he increasingly found more studies to support his claims. So, with a clearer understanding of the current state and the shortcomings of modern medicine, what should you do when your body falls ill? The core message this book wants to convey is that your body is trying to use illness to communicate with you about your own soul. Because the body and soul are unified, if the soul has a problem, the body will know. If you cannot recognize what is destroying your body, or cannot express what is deeply within your soul who you are, what your inner self is avoiding, then your body will emit warning signals on your behalf. Therefore, you must cherish the unity of mind and body, listen to your body, and seek to heal your own soul. When ill, in addition to combining with the support of modern medicine, the best way for you to heal yourself is first and foremost to care for your soul, confront your inner self, and rediscover who you are. How then do we self-heal? On this, the author provides us with 7 steps. I have synthesized and optimized them into 4 specific steps, suitable for real-life situations, which are as follows. Step 1. Acknowledge and accept that your mind and body are out of sync. A question people often ponder is, can pressure be categorized as good or bad? In life, we face pressure almost everywhere all the time. Many people frequently say they have too much pressure. But do we truly differentiate and fully recognize all the pressures in our lives? In many people's minds, pressure is always normal and beneficial. Life needs pressure, as pressure seems to awaken responsibility and inner energy, helping us move forward. For example, the author had a patient named Alan. He was truly a perfect employee, working 7 days a week, 11 hours a day, never complaining, never refusing, always enthusiastic and helping others at work. For Alan, the pressure from work was a positive one. Helping those around him made him feel he was fulfilling his personal value. The bad pressure, however, came from his 10-year marriage to a wife who wasn't overly romantic or sufficiently connected, and they had no children. He believed that since he didn't smoke, drink, or sleep in, his illness was due to his often irregular eating habits while working. Yet, the root cause of his illness didn't stem from his eating habits, but from the very pressure he considered positive. Because behind that pressure always lay an invisible pressure named expectation. When his expectations for his family were not met, Alan placed all his expectations on others, hoping that his hard work would gain recognition from colleagues and his company. He continued to work intensely to maintain his perfect image in the eyes of others. We need to understand that in addition to obvious pressures from society, work, finances, and family relationships, there are also many invisible and hard-to-recognize pressures. These largely stem from deep-seated fears within you and expectations from parents, partners, friends, colleagues, or even your own expectations of others. Alfred Adler suggested that the root of psychological problems is people not receiving enough love in childhood. The author also observed that if a person suffers emotional trauma from childhood, they will find it difficult to differentiate emotions as an adult. That is, they cannot detach from emotions influenced in childhood and instead repeat or maintain behavioral patterns in adulthood, such as complaining, criticizing, hitting, abusing children, having high expectations, or easily losing their temper, just like their own parents. A study at the U.S. Military Academy, tracking the development of 1,400 students over 4 years, showed that students with high goals who studied diligently and whose parents achieved success often experienced deeper psychological pressure and were more susceptible to illness. These individuals excelled in a group, but they didn't truly achieve emotional independence, merely constantly following in their parents' footsteps of success or meeting the expectations of family and society. Therefore, when we identify that we are under pressure but believe that those pressures are necessary and good for our development, we should be wary of this. Be cautious with all pressures. The body's response to pressure occurs through various neural pathways and hormone secretions, specifically affecting 3 types of organs. 1. The endocrine system. For example, the adrenal glands will secrete adrenaline, making the body excited and increasing heart rate. 2. The immune system. The immune system performs its immune function, attacking external invaders. 3. The intestinal lining of the digestive system. The digestive system enhances digestion and absorption to provide the body with more energy. However, for the human body, the response to pressure has limits. When pressure is within a reasonable range, it can help activate the body, uplift the spirit, and improve work performance, as listed above. But if it exceeds a certain limit, it can cause an overreaction in the body and lead to significant damage. If the immune system is affected by pressure for a long time or from excessive stress, it can treat its own body tissues as enemies, causing autoimmune diseases. Or it can cause the digestive system to experience poor digestion, increased acid, stomach ulcers, eventually leading to cancer. It can be said that the limit a human body can endure is also the dividing line between good stress and bad stress. So, where is this limit? This will depend on each individual. However, there is a basic standard to help you recognize if it's bad stress. If a person frequently experiences recurring physiological symptoms such as stomach pain, insomnia, difficulty sleeping, frequent acne breakouts, bad breath, rapid heartbeat, easy fatigue, sweating, frequent urination, headaches, or also exhibits certain behavioral signals such as irritability, impulsivity, excessive anxiety, easily getting angry, compulsive shopping or eating, etc., these are all symptoms your body is manifesting to let you know that you are under bad pressure. This pressure either comes from clear external problems or from deep within, stemming from fears or the need to meet certain expectations from yourself or others. Most of these fears and expectations can originate from past traumas. Therefore, when you receive these signals from your body, you need to stop, ask yourself, and thoroughly analyze. Where does my pressure come from? Am I avoiding stress in my life? How should I act to help my mind and body unify? Some people will resolutely tell themselves when pressure arises, I want to overcome this pressure. I cannot be defeated. This is actually a mistaken belief. From a psychological perspective, stress is not meant to be overcome, nor does it disappear without reason. It requires us to release and free ourselves from within. Those who try to overcome stress are actually denying the current situation, not daring to face the anxiety from within, thus paralyzing themselves. Often, the more you do this, the more stress will accumulate within you, eventually affecting your health. So, when pressure appears, we must truly feel it from the heart and accept that we are in a state of pressure. Furthermore, the author also points out a few mistaken beliefs that, if a person frequently thinks this way, will severely hinder the detection of existing pressure within them. So, what are these mistaken beliefs? 1. I'm not trying hard enough, so it didn't turn out well, therefore I must try harder. 2. I must be involved in controlling everything, otherwise I won't feel at ease. 3. I must be responsible for everyone around me. I don't want them to feel disappointed. Once you have accepted that you are under pressure and your mind and body are out of sync, this leads you to asterisk step 2. Allow yourself to be angry, release suppressed emotions, and achieve self-sovereignty. It's unclear when the ability to laugh when you want to, cry when you want to, or express anger when you need to has become a distant luxury for many. Most adults believe that openly expressing such emotions is not mature enough, and showing anger in front of others is inappropriate behavior. However, anger is not inherently bad. Physiologically, it can be a positive emotion that helps improve metabolism, stimulate emotions, and keep people focused. For those who have been depressed or sad for a long time, anger can be an appropriate stimulant. However, many studies have shown that excessive anger is a significant cause of cardiovascular disease. Therefore, we need to note that the anger emphasized here is anger stemming from suppressed emotions, not impulsive outbursts or irritability. What we must do is release the anger that is already there. For example, if someone is offended, they should proactively speak up, explain clearly to the other person, and demand an apology. But this does not mean flying into a furious rage and aggressively shouting just because you feel insulted. That is not releasing anger. It only makes you more angry. Anger will only be released when you don't lose emotional control and also don't passively endure. Releasing anger is actually about gaining self-sovereignty, adjusting your state, reframing your perceptions and behaviors. Here are 3 specific steps to help you release anger. Step 1. Learn to express. Here, you can refer to nonviolent communication. Primarily, state the facts, your feelings, and what you want. For example, my boss gave a raise to a colleague, but not me. I feel I performed better, and I'm incredibly frustrated. I want the boss to give me a deserving raise too. Even if the event has passed, you can close your eyes and recount and describe the facts by recreating those stressful scenes to effectively alleviate anxiety and release negative emotions, preparing for the next step. Step 2. Solve the problem. When you can recreate painful and stressful events, you will be able to clearly see the nature of the problem and from there, find ways to confront and eliminate your negative emotions. Step 3. Take responsibility for the outcomes. When we tackle problems and release negative emotions, it will, of course, lead to certain results and even potential conflicts with those around us. Some people might feel regret and fear about this. However, Dr. Mate reminds us that compared to suppressing and shutting down emotions, allowing them to surface is a more beneficial choice for our body and mind. So, once you can acknowledge and express the emotions stemming from stress and pressure to truly gain self-sovereignty, the next point for healing is to rediscover genuine attachment. Ultimately, we humans always need attachment. Attachment is a person's connection to the world, the emotional thread that binds us to family, partners, friends, and those around us. But many people feel that when they suppress emotions, they also lose this attachment. Some people become reclusive, wanting to close off their hearts, avoid communication, prefer solitude, locking themselves away to find joy alone for the rest of their lives. Others gradually forget themselves. All their joys, sorrows, happiness, and anger are based on others. If they have something on their mind, they must find someone to talk to. Both of these situations are actually manifestations of emotional detachment. Because when a person suppresses their heart, they also easily lose the ability to perceive the emotions of others, and they will feel emotionally isolated. In such circumstances, people can only choose to withdraw and cease interacting with others, or they will continually demand from others, hoping for constant emotional support. All of this is not genuine connection. True attachment doesn't depend on others. It originates from your own emotions and also from connecting with others independently. Therefore, we must learn to adjust and rebuild attachment with family, partners, and friends. Listen to your heart and ask yourself, how do I see the people around me, and how do I feel about them? How can I seek support from them? By reflecting on these feelings, we will truly find attachment. Finally, a crucial step is asterisk self-affirmation that you are on the path of self-healing. Why must you seek mind-body healing? Because your body is speaking up. It is sick. So, it's time for you to declare who you are to yourself and the world, affirming your existence. Many people, especially when ill, often feel useless, believing that when sick, they not only can't do anything but also drag down their entire family, forcing family members to change their lives. At this point, you might deny and abandon yourself, but this actually traps you in a vicious cycle. The more a person denies themselves, the more likely they are to experience emptiness, failure, and difficulty adjusting, leading to more internal pressure. The more pressure, the worse the illness becomes, and the more difficult it makes things for those around them. Therefore, we must learn to affirm ourselves, viewing our existence as a declaration that we are striving towards a significant goal, achieving both physical and mental healing. There are two main ways to do this. First, pursue your innate creative desires. However, this creativity has nothing to do with your career, family, or life. For example, when the author was ill, he regarded writing as a creative desire. This hobby had nothing to do with his profession, but he felt very comfortable when writing and felt he was creating. This is a type of embodiment of vitality. And of course, many people consider hobbies like painting, cooking, gardening, knitting, crafting, or photography to be ways to relieve stress. Another way is to asterisk reflect on your connection to life. Think about how much pain we experience. Can we feel our connection to the world, the people around us, and the things within our reach? Introspect on every detail that reflects your connection to life. This is also a very effective way for you to heal. And when facing difficulties, we can think more about how to solve the current problem. In this situation, people realize that no matter how much pain or sorrow you experience, it is temporary and will eventually pass. Looking forward is the normal state of life. These are the most essential takeaways from this book. What is your body saying? Listen to it. My dear friend, after many videos about different books, you will see that I am trying to tell you about two incredibly important words in your life regarding your body. It needs to be balanced. And regarding your soul, it should achieve unity. Balance your diet and nutrition, balance your sleep, rest, exercise, get close to nature, and expose yourself to sunlight. This is the best way to treat your body. As for unity, I truly hope you can learn to achieve unity both internally and externally, living authentically, eliminating all internal conflicts. And now, we need one more type of unity, ensuring the complete integration of body and mind. You will see that self-healing turns out to be learning to release stress with self-sovereignty, or learning to say no and refuse external pressures through psychological mastery, no longer being the obedient person who quietly withdraws or impulsively rages. Confront your inner self, discover who you are, why you have those stresses, or what your illnesses are trying to tell you. If you dare to make a choice and act on it decisively, your body will naturally cease to fall ill. May we all cherish this unity of body and mind.